Talbot, for giving me the opportunity to speak. I would like to start by expressing my disappointment in the premise of this debate. The issue being discussed here today, and as it has been framed, has caused to be divisive for the diaspora communities in this country. Bear a negative impact on the UK's thriving relationship with India, but also proves to be an intrusion into the internal affairs of democratic countries. Today, we are talking about 9/11 tragedy as well, and also paying respect to those who have lost their lives during that tragedy. Jammu and Kashmir is currently facing the worst floods in half a century, with areas still inaccessible, many still stranded and in danger, and multitudes currently homeless. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the Indian government, who has shown its commitment to the people of Jammu and Kashmir by providing immediate assistance to the flood victims through their massive ongoing rescue and relief operation. The Indian central government is doing all in its power to help the victims, and I hope that the damage in the region is soon contained and the victims will be safe. I also like to take this opportunity to congratulate the role of the armed forces during these crises, what they have played during the last few days. Kashmir has certainly been the subject of much contention over the years, but it is clear that it is an issue which rests in the hands of the two democratic countries involved, India and Pakistan, and not in those of a third party. There is a continued dialogue between India and Pakistan, and any issue concerning Kashmir should remain a concerted effort between these two nations to resolve. Mr. Chairman, Jammu and Kashmir is an integral part of India, the largest democracy in the world, and one that is secular and in which there is elected representation from all of the main religions present in the country. The election in Jammu and Kashmir, which everybody has expressed earlier on, are open to all and all citizens, regardless of their faith or political beliefs, have been encouraged to exercise their democratic right. As I'm sure we will all agree, in a free democracy, the ballot box is the best illustration of the will of the people, and the elections in Jammu and Kashmir have not reflected any determination for separatism. It is for us to respect the democratic choice of the citizens of Jammu and Kashmir, not to question it. Furthermore, at a time when all three main parties are advocating a greater and closer relationship with India, this debate and involvement in their internal affairs threatens the very future of our bilateral interests. We have heard the statements from the Deputy Prime Minister, and the Leader of the Opposition. They have all spoken that this is not our responsibility. Every leader has expressed that if they are asked to intervene, if they're asked to assist, they will do it. You can shake your head, but read the notes later on when you go and read the Hansard from the Prime Minister's message, even 2 days ago, when he said that we must deal with the democratic governments in Pakistan and other parts of the world. Over the last 60 years, in this country, we all have worked relentlessly to preserve unity between diaspora communities, who will, of course, feel very strongly about these matters. It would be shame, and it saddens me that the goodwill of our communities might be squandered by getting involved in issues that are under the control of two democratic countries, and not our responsibility as British Member of Parliament. We have to respect the right of two autonomous and democratic countries to determine their own internal affairs of state. As a British parliamentarian of Indian background, that's me, represent a diverse constituency, I cannot help but feel that this debate could inflame pre-existing tensions, and I know that many community leaders from the Hindus, Sikhs, and the Muslims in this country have raised concerns about its impact on their communities. Mr. Chairman, I unfortunately am also concerned about the balance of this debate and its misguided aims. I therefore feel the need to mention the terrible plight of the Kashmiri Pandits. The Pandits have been the victims of continued ethnic cleansing, and it's estimated that some 400,000 Kashmiri Hindus, over 95% of the Hindu population in the Kashmir Valley, fled and are now living in exile in their own country. Beginning in 1989, there was an organized and systematic campaign by Islamist militants to cleanse Hindus from Kashmir, involving documented massacres of innocent civilians, rapes, threats, assassinations, and intimidation. I would like to thank Kashmiri Pandits, Indo-European Kashmir Forum, for providing briefing about the political situation in Kashmir. Less than 4,000 Kashmiri Pandits remain in the valley today, and the rest of their kin are internally displaced persons, still unable to return to their homeland and living in overcrowded camps with the lack of inadequate facilities and basic necessities. It is shameful that these minorities are unable to return safely to their homeland, and worrying that in a region which pre-1989 had a diverse population, mix is now almost homogeneously populated by one religious group, following the systematic terrorizing of ethnic minorities. Mr. Chairman, this makes me even more disappointed in the bias of this debate, which has the clear aim to be divisive, and I maintain, as I did at the beginning of my speech, that these complex internal affairs should remain in the hands of the two countries they involve. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.